Hello. Thought I'd try a Friday read. I usually am busy on a Friday. I used to work uh, 2 o'clock in the afternoon after often getting home at like 3, 4 in the morning the previous day. So often just didn't have the time, energy to do Friday reads. But I'm off this week before I start my new job, so thought I'd try it out. Thought I'd try it out in a new location. I'm just in what's called the summer house, just kind of up in the attic. So in these parts, it's quite common for old houses, especially old brick houses, to have a what's called a summer addition. It's usually just like a kitchen and a room, possibly like a more of an attic room. That's kind of what ours is, just an old kitchen and attic. And they're just usually just basic timber framed structures slapped onto the side of a house, roof on top, and absolutely no insulation whatsoever. So it's nice and warm in the summertime and freezing cold in the wintertime, but kind of just up here to tidy ours up a bit and see what we can do with it next year maybe. Yeah, it's just we inherited a lot of trash, so just kind of cleaning that up, seeing what's going on. It's not much light. They figured out there's no power to it, so I have to figure out some sort of battery operated lighting if I wanted to come up here and do some serious work, because we just have a couple windows. It's not too much light, but it's good storage space. Just needs a wee bit of a clean. But anyway, on to the books and Friday reads. I didn't finish any books. More books that I kind of started, but going to be continuing on throughout the next couple weeks. First one is Living and Dying on the Factory Floor. Started off reading this, and this is absolutely great. I just need to get back into it, and once I do, it's like 140 pages. So once I do, I'll be finished really quickly. But basically, it deals with a college professor who has radical politics and basically took a year off in the 70s because his friend was going to do pro bono lawyer work for a activist group working with employees in the Chicago, Indiana factory belt, which is one of the most heavily industrialized areas in the world in the 70s. And it was basically just representing injury claims and work, unemployment and firings, kind of arbitration, that kind of thing. And so it started off with him doing that, and then money kind of ran out and didn't want to go back to academia, and so he started getting jobs. And I just left off when he got his first job in the factories, and it was actually fixing centrifuge work. But what's quite funny is he kind of bluffed his way into the job, but then he had to go and buy all the tools and buy all the work clothes and stuff, because he didn't have any work clothes and tools. And you could kind of see that he was a newbie just from new tags and everything. It's quite funny. But yeah, I was quite enjoying that. I'll get back to that. And then Steve Donahue mentioned Nicholas Montserrat on his channel, so I immediately had to just grab The Cruelty off the shelf and start reading that. And this is a great naval book set in the Second World War. Aboard. Firstly, they're aboard. I've just got to get to the first little bit of it. But first, they're aboard a new class of ship that was developed for Second World War, especially in the Atlantic. It's called a corvette. It's basically just a really small ship that had a think just a 4-inch gun. And the idea was that they were going to be really cheap and easy to make, and they could just pump them out. And then their main task was to be part of the envoy of supply ships and battleships, and they were basically on submarine duty. And so they're fitted with the Aztec, which is a kind of early submarine detection system. And so I've just finished the bit where they've just finished training and they have their orders to go to war. And yeah, it's really good. It's really detailed and kind of what it's like to be on a ship in the Second World War. Because what was interesting about a lot of these ships in the Second World War is, that especially like the kind of new ships like this, is the crew were a mix of Royal Navy Reserve, which is basically professional seamen or captains and crews of ships in their professional life. But then the rest of the crew is the Royal Navy Voluntary Reserve, which basically is just anyone that was willing to be in the Navy, didn't have to have any prior knowledge of seamanship or anything. And so you get a bunch of people like the captain, who is merchant navy, and you get journalists and bankers, and yeah, so it goes well with the kind of like the personalities, how that can make and break a ship as well. And yeah, it's just very interesting. But yeah, they're just about to go off to sea to face some German U-boats. So yeah, it's Montserrat is just great. It's just really, really readable. And he also had got this great kind of little travel. It's very small, but just a little bit of him driving coast to coast across Canada. Because he was a diplomat briefly for Canada. I think he was based in Ottawa. He was in the diplomatic services just after the Second World War, I believe, because he was, I believe he was Royal Navy Reserve. He was either Royal Navy Reserve or Navy Voluntary Reserve, but I think he left when he was demobbed from the war. I think he'd reached Lieutenant Commander. I have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure he reached the role of Lieutenant Commander, which is basically ship's captain. So yeah, and then he went diplomatic services. One of his posts was in Canada, and so he, I think in 1955, he came back to do coast to coast. Last but not least, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but I opened up a drawer and there was a book in it. And I was about halfway through this book. It's French Exit by Patrick DeWitt, a bit of a darling of the Canlet scene of recent. He's more famous for Sisters Brothers, which was made into a film rather recently. There's other books he's also written, but this was pretty popular back when it was released in, I want to say like 2018. I've completely forgotten I started this back, I think, in March, around the time the pandemic hit, and I think this is a bit of an escapist book for me, and then got to do other things, like I just forgot about it. I remember exactly what was going on and stuff, though. It's fairly inconsequential. It's just basically following a mother and son and their cat, who the mother believes is basically her dead husband in cat form. And it's kind of starts off with them in New York, kind of on the party scene, and they're kind of like not the nicest people. They haven't really made friends. They're quite scathing. They're quite comfortable in their privilege, and then it turns out they're kind of ruined. The accountant basically says, "Yeah, there's no money left," and so they sell all their assets before anyone realizes. Have a chunk of cash, and they go to France by ferry. And they go by ferry, yeah. They're gonna go to France with the intention of just spending it all, having like a last hurrah. And it's just kind of fun. It's little vignettes almost, really. It does string along into coherent plot, but a lot of it is just set pieces. It's quite good, and it's just kind of funny. It's not laugh out loud funny. It's not the funniest thing I've read. It's fairly innocuous, but it's quite easy to read, quite fun. So yeah, I could probably just end up reading this for the rest of the year. You can just dip in and out. The chapters are quite small, so yeah, it's fairly easy to read. So yeah, that's that. That's my Friday reads, and hopefully, I think I'll get The Cruel Sea done by hopefully the end of the weekend, and also The Living and Dying on the Factory Floor. Anyway, so I hope you're all having a good Friday reads, and yeah, see you soon.